A very good Tuesday morning. Happy New Year's Eve. The final day of 2024 is here. Landon here in the driver's seat to bring you your latest and final weather or not forecast for 2024, courtesy of On Target. We got a pesky low pressure system early this morning. This sucker is pulling off to the north and east here as we work throughout the day, and as it does so, it's going to be trucking this cold front eastward as well. Now, we're already experiencing temperatures up right around the 50s, low to mid 50s right now as we currently speak. Our temperatures are going to be falling throughout the vast majority of today, with these brisk northwest winds coming in on the backside of this low and plowing through the region on the backside of this weather maker that we are currently dealing with. So we are having to put up with the scattered light rain showers out there as well. It will be very breezy at times as the day wears on. Skycam overlooking the Lovers Lane Soccer Complex and the Loops Trails shows damp and dreary conditions. Got a few puddles of water there on the soccer pitch. We're going to be keeping the clouds around throughout a good chunk of today, and those winds will be coming right along with it. Beach Tree News Skycam overlooking Morgantown, showcasing the thick cloud cover over in that direction as well. Got some light scattered sprinkles and rain showers, pretty much impacting the entirety of the Wobbles community early this morning. We are underneath a wind advisory, folks, as we work throughout the day. We're going to be dealing with wind gusts of the magnitude of 20 to 40 miles an hour. We have two rounds that's been highlighted by the National Weather Service. We got the initial round throughout mid-morning into midday. That'll be mainly along and east of I-65. And another round arriving as we work into this afternoon. That'll impact areas to the west of the I-65 corridor, right? So let's jump over here and let's take a look at that surface map that we were just looking at to give you a little bit better illustration. That low is going to continue to deepen, bringing the cold front through along with that secondary front as well. And as a result, folks, again, those temperatures are going to be falling as we work throughout the day. Temperature readings currently hanging out right around the low and mid 50s region-wide. Winds are currently out of the south as the cold front has not made it east of the area yet. But as that does so, folks, it's going to feel much colder out there in the great outdoors. We're going to be talking about wind chills pretty much locked down to the 30s throughout the entirety of the day. So let's jump over here and let's talk about what we're looking at in terms of sensible weather impacts. Of course, we will begin throughout today. All right, I know all you all want to hear about snow chances. We got numerous of you all commenting right now. We'll get to that here in just a moment. All right, scattered light rain showers, gusty winds coming along throughout the entirety of today, all the way through this afternoon, as you can see here. And then even into the overnight, folks, with temperatures falling, we might even get a transition over to a few flying snowflakes. Not going to be nothing to worry about here with the initial round that'll be moving through. Throughout our New Year's Day, the first day of 2025, you can see here, we should be dry as a bone by midday into lunchtime with some breaks of sunshine. Temperatures will be colder down into the 40s throughout yet again. Take a look over here at the wind speed throughout the day, folks. This is what we're keeping our eyes on as far as the short-term weather impacts. We're going to have wind gusts of the magnitude of 20 to 40 miles an hour pretty much throughout the entirety of today. Here we are working throughout this morning. You can see these higher gusts appearing right along and east of the I-65 corridor. That is the initial round we're watching. And then as we work into this afternoon, we get a few 30 to 40 mile an hour gusts showing up here right along and west of the I-65 corridor throughout the afternoon and evening. And then as the low pulls further and further away to the north and east, folks, we should finally see that subside. Talking about our temperature trends, high temperatures have pretty much already been achieved. If not, they'll be achieved here over the next hour or so. You will note here as we get into mid-morning, folks, by 9 to 10 a.m., we're already going to be down into the 40s, and the downward trend will just continue throughout this afternoon and on into this evening as well. Overnight lows will be taking down between the low and mid-30s by the time we roll into sunrise to start out the new year. Now let's shift gears and let's focus on what everybody wants to talk about, and that's our snow chances. And folks, we're not just talking about one weather maker. We're going to have 2 to 3, maybe 4 chances at seeing some snowfall on the ground with this northwesterly flow pattern and this trough that's going to evolve right here across the northeastern U.S. That's going to keep very, very cold air locked in pretty much throughout the first 2 weeks, if not even later, into the new year. So here we have the initial round of the rain we're dealing with today. This low pressure is going to drag off to the north and east. But folks, this is going to open up the door for that northwest regime to usher in the colder air mass. That sucker is going to get locked in as we work throughout the remainder of this week. We look to be dry throughout both Wednesday and Thursday, and then as we work into Thursday night into Friday morning, here comes our first, albeit light, possibility of seeing some scattered light snow showers impact the region. We got this weak little clipper disturbance. It's going to dive down to the south and east. I'm not overly concerned with this, folks. It looks like the vast bulk of this, if it does put any snow on the ground, will be located to the north and east of the region, impacting northern and eastern tiers of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Not so much where we are, but we can't rule out a few flying snowflakes, maybe a dusting or some covering of some cars and mailboxes out of that. However, right after that, we'll shift gears throughout the weekend, folks, and we are continuing to watch a very complicated weather maker evolve out across the west, okay? By the time we work into Saturday afternoon and evening, we're going to be keeping our eyes on this developing surface low right over eastern Colorado. If you were watching our videos here yesterday and the latter part of last week, if you want winter weather here across our vicinity, you'd love to see this low develop over eastern Colorado, dip down across the deep south, grab all this deep moisture out of the Gulf, and then dump it on the cold side of the low off to the north and west side of where the surface low sets up, all right? So if we can get the low down here across the deep south, crawl up the spine of the Appalachian Mountains, that places us in the bullseye of where the heaviest snowfall would occur, all right? Right now, unfortunately, the Euro model isn't quite liking that agreement, and neither is the GFS model. We still got several days, folks, for this thing to evolve. This forecast track is going to change. That's why we're going to have to watch this very closely. We work into our Sunday morning, folks, and by mid-morning, this is the Euro model that we're looking at. This is where it has the surface map, okay? It has that surface low very close to our proximity, especially from the points northward there across the continental U.S. We got the warm conveyor belt that's going to drag all of that warm, moist air out of the Gulf, and then it's going to pick it up and it's going to attempt to dump it over the cold conveyor belt that's going to be swinging in on the north side of the low and wrapping around there on the west side, bringing in that colder air. So whenever the moisture is picked up and dumped on the northwest side of the low, the sub-freezing air, precipitation falls through sub-freezing air, you get the idea, okay? That precipitation is going to fall as frozen precipitation, whether that be ice or snow, that remains to be seen. So here is our setup and what we're looking at, and we're going to show you the issue with this, with the current track of the low in regards to winter weather for us, all right? So let's get a closer up view at this exact time frame where we have the black star locating where the Wobbles community is at. Here's a little bit of a closer up view of the exact same time frame. As you can see with the current model trends, right along the northern edge of Wobbles and Point South, we are at plain Jane rain all the way through mid-morning, taking us through lunchtime on Sunday, on into our Sunday afternoon, on into our Sunday night, and even into the early part of our Monday before we get a little bit of dosing of snow right here on the back side of the low. Again, folks, this is the initial track with the Euro. The GFS is somewhat similar, but if we're wanting to get a significant snow out of this, we want that track to be even further down to the south, all right? We want that low to be displaced somewhat a couple of 100 miles over here closer to the Smokies and the Blue Ridge Mountains, crawling right up the spine of the Appalachians so we can take the bullseye of the heaviest snow and displace it a couple 100 miles down to the south and east to make this quite a banger in terms of winter storms for us. So that's the current trends that we're seeing, folks, and we got a few more disturbances that are going to be working in here out of the north and west as we work throughout the remainder of the first week and on into the second week of the new year. That'll definitely be worth keeping close eyes on. Most important part, folks, is the cold is going to be locked in here. Take a look at the climate prediction forecast over the course of the next 8 to 14 days. It's pretty much bullseyed right across the Commonwealth of Kentucky, Tennessee, points across the Deep South at a 90% probability of seeing those temperatures well below average. As typical here in our neck of the woods, folks, it's difficult to get the cold air locked in and then to get a winter weather maker through here that'll keep the snow around for a while. With this particular setup, it looks like we're going to get very cold air to get locked in. But the question mark is the exact track of that low, because if we can get that low further south of what models are showing with the cold arriving early, Friday into Saturday before the arrival of the weather maker, our probabilities will greatly increase for seeing some significant snowfall on the ground, all right? Getting back here into the short term, we were talking about the initial round Thursday night into Friday morning with a weak clipper system moving in here. And this is showcasing what I was looking at a little bit earlier. It looks like north of the region and points off to the east, we'll have a better probability of seeing at least a dusting of snow on the ground. It's not going to be a lot for anything that does fall. We might get clipped there with a sparse dusting on your grills, your decks, your cars, mailboxes, or something like that. But with the initial round, I'm not expecting too much out of it, all right? So we'll continue to keep our eyes on it, and we will continue to break it down as we get later into the week. Here's a nice breakdown from our local National Weather Service office showing about the potential winter weather makers Sunday afternoon all the way into Monday morning. The uncertainty remains on the exact track of the storm system. Currently, precipitation types could be a mix of snow, ice, and rain, and how much precipitation or snowfall might occur, all right? So we're continuing to monitor the forecast, but the exact track of that surface low will greatly dictate exactly what we're going to see with this very complex and complicated weather maker. Here's a full breakdown of your next 6-day weather forecast, presented by Ohio Valley Insurance. For today, scattered rain showers, wind advisory in effect through this evening, 20 to 40 mile an hour winds. Temperature's going to be falling through the 40s throughout a good chunk of the day. If you're headed out, layer up. As we work into our New Year's Day, a mix of sun and clouds with highs trapped between the mid and upper 30s. Lower 40s for your Thursday with a bit more cloud cover. We might have a few flying snowflakes or a light snow shower Thursday night. Friday, trapped between the mid and upper 30s for highs. It'll be partly sunny. And folks, look at Saturday. This is what we're talking about, getting the cold air locked in before a potential winter weather maker arrives. Highs might not, for some of us, not exceed the freezing mark of 32 degrees on Saturday afternoon. Saturday night at 20 degrees. Sunday, if we warm up to around the 40-degree mark, it'll be difficult to get much of anything on the ground until we'll work into our Sunday night, and those temperature profiles become much more favorable for some snow chances for us, all right? Folks, that's going to wrap up your New Year's Eve forecast, brought to you by On Target. You all take care of yourselves and each other. You all have a fantastic New Year.